Welcome back to the board. Today, two of the strongest Shogi engines face off, Gokaku moving first, as sent, against PT. Let's follow it quietly, move by move. Sent pushes the pawn to 76. Goat pushes the pawn to 84. Sent pushes the pawn to 26. Goat plays the pawn to 85. Sent plays the bishop to 77. And Goat pushes a pawn to 34. Sent plays the silver to 68. Goat pushes the pawn to 74. Sent responds by pushing their pawn to 25. Goat pushes their pawn to 86. Sent's pawn captures the pawn on 86. Goat's king moves to 52. Sent plays the gold to 78, a mistake that clearly favors Sent, with the engine preferring the pawn to 24. And Goat plays the knight to 73. Sent plays the gold to 58, a blunder that now clearly favors Sent, with the engine preferring the bishop to capture the bishop on 22, promoting to a horse instead. Goat plays the bishop, capturing the bishop on 77, promoting to a horse. Sent plays the silver, capturing the horse on 77, but the engine preferred the knight capturing it instead. Goat plays the knight to 65. Sent plays the silver to 66, a mistake that clearly favors Goat, as the engine preferred the silver to 88. Goat's rook captures the pawn on 86, a move the engine preferred. Sent drops a pawn on 88, a blunder that clearly favors Sent, though the engine preferred dropping a pawn on 87 instead. Goat drops a bishop on 44. Sent drops a bishop on 73, which was a mistake, the engine preferred dropping a bishop on 46 instead, and the game now clearly favors Sent. Goat plays the silver to 82, and the balance swings towards Sent. Sent plays the bishop to 46, promoting it to a horse. Goat's rook takes the pawn on 76. Sent plays the gold to 68. Goat now swings the rook over to 86. Instead, Sent plays the horse to 56, which the engine didn't like, preferring pawn to 24 instead, as the game now clearly favors Sent. Then Goat pushes the pawn to 64. Then Sent pushes the pawn to 24. Goat captures the pawn on 24. Sent's horse captures the pawn on 34, a blunder that clearly favors Sent, as the engine preferred gold to 87. Goat plays the bishop to 33. Sent's horse captures the pawn on 24, a blunder that clearly favors Sent, as the engine preferred capturing the bishop on 33. Goat's bishop captures the horse on 24. Sent's rook captures the bishop on 24. Goat drops the knight to 33. Sent plays the rook to 21, promoting to a dragon, a blunder that clearly favors Sent, the engine preferred dropping a bishop on 55 instead. Goat drops a pawn on 28. Sent's dragon takes the pawn on 28. Goat now drops a pawn on 27. Sent plays the dragon to 38, a blunder that clearly favors Sent, as the engine preferred the dragon to capture the pawn on 27 instead. Goat plays the knight to 45. Sent drops a bishop on 33, a blunder that clearly favors Sent, though the engine preferred dropping a bishop on 55 instead. Goat's knight captures the pawn on 57, promoting to a promoted knight. Sent's silver captures the promoted knight on 57. Goat's knight captures the silver on 57, promoting to a promoted knight. Sent's gold captures the promoted knight on 57. Goat drops a silver on 28, though Sent is clearly on top now. Sent's silver captures the silver on 28, and they are clearly on top now. Goat's pawn captures the silver on 28, promoting to a token, but Sent is clearly on top now. Sent's dragon captures the token on 28. Goat drops a pawn on 38, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent's dragon captures the pawn on 38, and they are clearly on top now. Goat drops their rook to 26. Cent drops a pawn to 27, and they are clearly on top now. Goat's rook swings to 21. Cent's bishop advances to 66, promoting to a horse, a blunder when the engine preferred 55, promoting to a horse, and the game now clearly favors cent. Goat drops a pawn on 26. Cent's pawn takes the pawn on 26. Goat's rook recaptures the pawn on 26, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent drops a pawn on 27, a blunder that clearly favors cent now, with the engine preferring a silver drop on 36 instead. Goat's rook captures the horse on 66, swinging the rook across in a ranging rook approach, though cent is clearly on top. Cent captures the rook on 66 with a pawn, which is a good move for cent, who is clearly on top. Goat drops a bishop to 94. Cent drops a pawn on 58, a blunder that now clearly favors goat, though the engine preferred dropping a pawn on 54. Goat plays the silver to 73, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent plays the pawn to 36, but the engine preferred dropping a silver on 34 instead. Goat pushes the pawn to 65, though cent is clearly on top now. Cent captures the pawn on 65, and is clearly on top now. Goat drops a pawn on 67, but cent is still clearly on top. Cent drops a silver on 69, a blunder that the engine preferred to be a knight drop on 64, and the game now clearly favors cent. Goat pushes the pawn to 44, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent plays the pawn to 96, a blunder that clearly favors cent, though the engine preferred dropping a knight on 64. Goat plays the king to 42, building a solid castle around the king, though cent is clearly on top now. Cent pushes the pawn to 95, a blunder that the engine preferred to replace with the gold capturing the pawn on 67, though the game now clearly favors cent. Goat plays the bishop to 72, though cent is clearly on top now. Cent captures the pawn on 67 with the gold, a blunder that now clearly favors cent, with the engine preferring to drop a rook on 21 instead. Goat pushes the pawn to 94, though cent is clearly on top now. Cent plays the knight to 77, though the engine preferred dropping a rook on 21 instead. Goat captures the pawn on 95 with their pawn, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent drops a pawn to 92, a blunder that now clearly favors cent, and the engine preferred dropping a rook to 21 instead. Goat's lance captures the pawn on 92, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent now drops a pawn on 93. Goat pushes the pawn to 96, though cent is clearly on top now. Cent's pawn captures goat's lance on 92, promoting to a token. Goat drops the bishop to 94, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent drops a lance to 43 with check, a blunder that clearly favors goat now, and the engine preferred dropping a knight to 34 instead. Goat's king takes the lance on 43, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent plays the token to 93, a blunder which the engine preferred drops a knight on 55 instead, and the game now clearly favors cent. Goat plays the bishop captures the gold on 67, promoting to a horse, but the engine preferred dropping a knight on 55 instead, and cent is clearly on top now. Cent's gold captures the horse on 67, a blunder as the game now clearly favors cent, though the engine preferred dropping a knight on 35 instead. Goat drops a bishop on 34, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent plays the gold to 66, which the engine preferred to replace with dropping a knight on 35, and the game now clearly favors cent. Goat drops a pawn on 68. Cent silver captures the pawn on 68, and with that, cent is clearly on top now. Goat's king moves to 42. Cent promotes the pawn to a token at 83, a blunder that clearly favors cent, and the engine preferred pushing the pawn to 35 instead. Goat drops a pawn on 67, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent's gold captures the pawn on 67, a blunder according to the engine, which preferred the silver instead, though cent is still on top. Goat drops a silver on 78, but cent is still clearly on top. Cent plays the gold to 66, a blunder that now clearly favors cent, the engine preferred dropping a bishop on 15 instead. Goat drops a gold on 69, with check, but cent is still clearly on top. Cent plays the king to 49, and cent is clearly on top now. Goat's gold captures the silver on 68, but cent is still clearly on top. Cent pushes the pawn to 35, a blunder that now clearly favors cent, the engine preferred dropping a bishop on 15 instead. Goat plays the bishop to 67, promoting to a horse. Cent's gold captures the horse on 67, a blunder that now clearly favors cent, as the engine preferred dropping a bishop on 15 instead. Goat's silver captures the gold on 67, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent drops a bishop on 15, checking Goat's king. Goat drops a lance on 33, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent moves their king to 39, which the engine sees as a blunder, preferring instead that the bishop captures the lance on 33, promoting to a horse. Goat's gold captures the pawn on 58, but cent is clearly on top now. Cent plays the king to 28, a blunder that now clearly favors cent, with the engine preferring the bishop capturing the lance on 33, promoting to a horse instead. Goat drops a pawn on 26, but cent remains clearly on top. Cent plays the pawn to 34, a blunder, as the engine preferred the bishop to capture the lance on 33 instead. Goat's pawn captures the pawn on 27, promoting to a token, with check, though cent is clearly on top now. Cent's dragon captures the token on 27, though cent is clearly on top now. Goat drops a silver on 39, checking the king, which feels a little like locking the stable door after the dragon has bolted, doesn't it? The king takes the silver on 39, and cent is clearly on top now. Goat plays the gold to 48, checking the king. Cent's king captures the gold on 48, and cent is clearly on top now. Goat drops a gold on 58, checking the king. Cent moves the king to 38, a blunder that now clearly favors cent, as it allows a forced checkmate, whereas the engine preferred the king to 39. Goat drops a gold to 48, with check, but cent is clearly on top now, as cent has a forced checkmate. Cent plays the king to 28, a blunder, as the engine preferred the king to capture the gold on 48, though cent still has a forced checkmate. Goat plays the gold to 38, with check, but cent still has a forced checkmate. Cent's king captures the gold on 38, a blunder, as the engine preferred the dragon to capture instead, but cent still has a forced checkmate. Goat drops in the gold to 32, but cent still has a forced checkmate. Cent captures the lance on 33 with the pawn, promoting to a token, with check, and now has a forced checkmate. Goat takes the token on 33 with the gold, but cent still has a forced checkmate. Cent plays the bishop captures the gold on 33, promoting to a horse, with check, a blunder as the engine preferred this move instead, though cent still has a forced checkmate. Goat's king takes the horse on 33, but cent still has that forced checkmate. Cent drops a rook on 23 with check, and now has a forced checkmate. Goat's king moves to 42, but cent still has a forced checkmate here. Cent drops a gold on 43 with check, and now has a forced checkmate. Goat's king moves to 41, but cent still has a forced checkmate. Cent drops a silver to 32, checking the king, and now has a forced checkmate. Goat's king moves to 51, but Cent still has that forced checkmate. Cent drops a knight on 63, with check, and that's a forced checkmate. Goat's king moves to 62, but Cent still has a forced checkmate. Cent's gold captures the pawn on 53, with check, but the balance swings toward Goat. And there it is, Gokaku takes the game. Thank you for sitting with me at the board. I'll see you at the next one.